Okay, up next, we are going to bring you a fabulous speaker, Sherry Stein. Sherry, I'm going to bring you on stage right now. Sherry is the head of technology strategy of Americas at SITA. Funny story, Sherry, a company that I worked for was purchased by SITA while I was there. So I've seen a little bit of the inside of the workings at SITA, and you guys are doing all kinds of amazing things.
That's awesome. Thanks,
Yeah,
Margo.
small world. So Sherry has more than 25 years experience in travel technology and has a passion for business transformation and technology innovation. She has led SITA's strategic programs in blockchain, biometrics, and digital transformation initiatives, optimizing airport operations and customer experience. As the head of technology strategy for Americas, she's currently responsible for ensuring the technology solutions that SITA provides meet the needs of not just airlines, but airports and governments and other aviation stakeholders across the Americas. And she's here to talk to us today about the importance of saying yes, both in your personal and professional life. So Sherry, I'm excited to hear what you have to share with us. I'm going to throw it right to you.
Thanks, Margo. And a big thanks to Anna and the team here at Women in Tech, and to all of you, of course, for also taking the time to share your stories. And congratulations to those of you that are nominated for awards this year. It's my honor to be here among you today. So thank you for that. And, my story begins, as Margo said, around the lessons I've learned on the importance of saying yes and how a curious mindset can create opportunities for growth and success in personal and professional life. So I guess to get started and give you some background, I'm a small town girl, grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania, and a child of the 80s. So my parents then thought that college was really for doctors and lawyers. So I figured I was going to either be a backup dancer for Janet Jackson or an ambassador to the UN, and an illustrious career, changing the world in Africa or China, that were new and emerging economies then. So, but my path didn't carry me that way. Instead, I went to a school focused on airline and airport IT, located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I learned computers and airline systems and processes. When I graduated, I moved to Philadelphia and lived there for about 5 years. And when a girlfriend reached out to me and said, "Hey, you should come to Cincinnati. It's really cool. It's kind of like Pittsburgh." I decided to do that. At the time, I was taking classes while working part-time, Community College of Philadelphia. Decided to continue to do that when I transferred out to Cincinnati. So I was in Cincinnati State. So again, lived there for about 5 years. I think there's a pattern there. Met my now ex-husband there and graduated. And then we decided to move to Atlanta. And start a career there. That was in 1995, so right at the beginning of the kind of .com boom and right before the Olympics. And how I kind of got my first job there was I replied to an ad in the local newspaper. They were looking for somebody that knew both travel and also internet. I figured, well, my husband knows internet. He was working for AOL at the time, so close enough. So I figured I'd get the support that I needed and jumped in and took the chance. And I remained there for about 15 years. It was, again, that .com area, so startup environment. I was like employee 12 in the United States. We bought, 5 companies in 5 months, so it was growing and changing all the time. So I had the opportunity to try a bunch of different roles. All of them were across the software development life cycle. So starting in kind of the support arena and how to help customers use the software, to installing and supporting and training, and then moving further and further up that software development life cycle to getting to the point where, I was the one that worked with the guys that came up with the idea written on a bar nap and said, "Hey, we should do this," and then working with the teams to help figure out how we'd create that and bring that to market. So exciting times, lots of fantastic relationships, experience, working in a global company, global customer base, but I also got kind of bored after 15 years and I needed something new. I wanted to do something for me. I'd been divorced, and so single mom, 2 kids, trying to do that while working full time, traveling globally, etc. I needed the secure income that brought as well. And but again, I decided to try to do something different for myself. So that was when I enrolled in the executive MBA program at Georgia State University. So at the time, I had not finished my undergrad with all the various, moves and, having kids, working full time, getting divorced, being the single mom thing. Again, I didn't have those final credits that I needed, but Georgia State has a really special program that they based on your level of executive experience and career experience. And of course, as long as you can meet the GMAT requirements, they'll allow a very small number of people to enter the program and to be able to get their MBA. And so that's what I did. And it's the best decision that I ever made. Don't get me wrong, it was hard. Cramming a 2-year program into 17 months and still working full time. And, again, trying to deal then with a middle schooler and high schooler, it was tough. And then, in a cohort of, a bunch of type A's like myself, there are a few clashes as well, right? And so, but again, best experience because, it opened my mind to the breadth of the diversity out there and the number of people that had very similar experiences, even though they were working in other industries. But about halfway through the program, my company won a huge contract, and they said, "Oh, we need you to drop out of the MBA because we need your team to relocate and work on site with this customer. We have a very aggressive timeline, and we need to kind of second you into this." And at the time, I was in a very, strong relationship, so thankfully didn't have that burden on my shoulders anymore. But it was a huge crossroads, right? Because I had to make the decision of whether to continue this program that was really, changing my life and the way I saw myself, and the foundational kind of experiences that I was having, versus the potential of leaving the company in the lurch. And, I knew they were depending on me and my team, but I ended up deciding to leave my job so that I could focus on seeing the MBA program through. And so that's what I did. And that summer we had a class focused on corporate social responsibility. And that blew my mind, changed my life. I'd never heard of a B Corp until then. It's basically a company that operates for profit, but still with a sense of purpose and focus on the community that they serve, how to use business as a power for good in driving transformation of industries, supporting, the community that they serve, and, while still making a profit, but just maybe, at a lower volume than you might see certain executive packages in other industries. But I thought, oh my God, this is what I want to do, right? I want to, do good in the world. But what I quickly discovered were 2 things, right? It's hard to get ROI from an executive MBA program, working for a B Corp at that stage, and trying to apply my travel-centric technology expertise was very difficult. In most cases, the closest I could get was some type of a supply chain management. So it was a real stretch, and I struggled quite a bit to try to figure out how I could make that happen. But then that's when I discovered SITA and SITA Lab. So SITA is a cooperative organization. It operates specifically for airlines, airports. In fact, it's owned by airlines and airports. There are about 450 global members, and they help drive the strategic direction of the company. And so SITA Lab, where I joined, operates on the nonprofit side of the business and focuses on how to solve some of the big, ugly, multi-billion-dollar industry challenges challenges that plague the travel industry. So stuff like how to use technology to minimize the impact of flight delays, how to reduce or eliminate lost bags, how to get rid of all of the paper-laden processes through digitization and technology transformation. And so that was when I figured out, oh my God, I found my fit. And so I joined SITA, and when I did, I decided I was going to use this as an opportunity to say yes to everything that kind of came my way. You know, and I wasn't going to worry about staying in my lane or shying away from things that I wouldn't have done before. Before I joined SITA, never would have spoken publicly or gotten on stage. Now it's like, feels like sometimes that's all I do. But I decided to, again, jump in with both feet. And, you know, when you're working in a career in innovation and you're trying to change norms, you know, you have to be prepared to figure out how you're going to handle things like, oh, we've always done it this way, you can't change that. Or, oh, so-and-so, you're never going to change them. They're never going to work for you. They're never going to, or with you, they're never going to collaborate on this. So Barney Stinson became my hero. If you've ever seen How I Met Your Mother, my mantra was challenge accepted. So it's been my focus really to, you know, focus on how to break barriers, drive industry transformation, and like I say, to put myself out there. I don't always know all the answers, but I'm always willing to ask the questions, help figure out how we create an environment for shared problem solving, shared learning, and, you know, how we create that common goal. And of course, you know, not taking no for an answer in that. So I've still managed to avoid the Pythagorean theorem, but I certainly do spend a lot of time focusing on scientific method, scientific theory, and so developing a hypothesis. You know, what is it that we want the solution to try to prove or disprove? KPIs and success criteria, knowing what we want to try to get out of this, and then certainly, of course, the ability to pivot, change, adapt with speed, you know, and obviously being able to measure outcomes and progress along the way so that you know when to change course. Organizational behavior has also been extremely important. Being able to think about how you're facing a problem from the other person's side. So a big thing is about, you know, how do you help make sure that you're coming at a problem or a situation from the same side. So think about their needs. What's in it for them? What will they gain? Do they believe they can do it? What are the tools they think they need? And then, of course, making sure that they can trust you. And so focusing on how to build those things are huge lessons, I think, that I've learned that can apply to anything, whether it's, you know, what you do in your job, how you deal with your kids, how you deal with your partner, friends, family, etc. I think, you know, all of those are really valuable to take forward when you're thinking about how to drive that curious mindset and to help get others there with you. But of course, you know, it's important to focus on win-win. You don't need to be a martyr. There's no glory in that. It only kills you in the end. And, you know, for me, so far, so good. I work for one of Forbes 2020 world's best places to work, and SITA's commitment to diversity and inclusion for women as well as people of color in leadership and across the organization has been huge, both with what we do across the industry as well as internally. You know, it's also beyond just the normal tech distribution. Travel is probably just as bad. Lots of male-dominated roles. You know, they generally are the ones that hold the seat at the table. But here, our CEO is a woman, the President of the Americas is a woman, myself as CTO, and then our VP of Operations. So more than 50% of the leadership team in the Americas is women in those leadership roles. And I think it's important that we focus on having kind of mentors and role models, kind of the guiding star that helps us model the behavior that we want to see in ourselves and in the persona that we project in our roles or our life. And so for me, that's been Madeleine Albright. I know you would have thought Janet Jackson, but no, it's Madeleine Albright. And so I want to share a couple of things that she spoke about in 2013 at the CIA Women's History Month celebration. So number one, learn to speak up. Women often sit quietly, or politely with their hand raised, waiting to be called on, whereas guys will always shout out the answer to a given question. And we often think, oh, what if it's not right? Or I don't want to sound stupid. And then the guy says something and we're like, that's just what I was going to say. And everybody thinks it's brilliant. So don't get mad at yourself. Just jump in, speak up. And her, thing is, it's better be thought that you might be rude than to be considered as having nothing to say. Number two, somebody has to lead, so it might as well be you. And so just make sure you're ready. So always, don't sit back and wait to be asked, right? You got to be ready and ready to step in and raise your hand, say yes, and take the opportunity when it's presented, or make the opportunity. Number three, don't be obsessed by the clock. You're never too old or too young. Don't let anybody, put you in a box. Do whatever you think is right, and whatever you set your sights on. So she was 39 before she had her first job, 54, an ambassador to the UN, 59, the first ever female Secretary of State. And so again, another line that she used, or quote, when it comes to generating results, experience and character count for far more than a wrinkle-free face. So don't worry about those things. Just jump in. Number four, don't let anyone else tell you what you can do or where you belong. You decide. You're the one, you limit yourself, you chart your own course. No path is inherently right or wrong. So you can only ever do the best that you can based on the information that you have available at the time. So act out of hope, not fear, and take responsibility for whatever you decide. My mantra is, you had to go there to get here. And all of these things help shape us into the people that we are, the people that we will become. And that leads lastly into point number 5. None of us gets where we are on our own, and none of us will get where we want to go that way either. We need each other, and we need to be open and inclusive. And so we need to be mindful of our own inclusiveness. So we can't just think about what we need to do together as women, but we also need to think about the male counterparts that make up our colleagues, mentors, or business leaders, because they may still have the largest percent of seats at the table. And so being able to leverage those relationships and using them to get whatever opportunities might be available to us. It's really important that we think with that inclusive mindset ourselves as well. So thank you for letting me share my story. Hopefully I'm doing okay on time. And again, good luck and congratulations to all of you for choosing a career in STEM. And when you think about that next step, always think about what you're going to do to challenge yourself and push beyond your comfort zone, because you might be surprised to learn what you can do. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sherry. You're such a joy to listen to. I know we had lots of people kind of commenting on their own careers and where they're at in the chat as you were talking to. So I think this message is so clear, importance of saying yes. We can have a very clear takeaway from that. So thank you so much for joining us today, Sherry.
Yeah, thank you.